Hello dear students, this is lecture 2 and in this lecture I am going to cover the topics cell theory, cells how small, cells how numerous, cell shape and their function. But before that, let's revise our previous topic, okay? So if I ask you, what is this room made up of, okay? You will say this room is made up of bricks, okay, that's correct. But now if I ask you, what is this body made up of? Okay, so you will say this body is made up of muscles, bones, blood. Yes, that's correct. But if we divide these things into smaller, more and more smaller things, we will finally get tiny particles called cells. We'll get these tiny units called cells. Okay, so what is a cell? Cell is the basic unit of life. Okay, so all organisms are made up of cells. All organisms made up of cells. Then all life starts from single cell. So life start from single cell, which is egg. Then what happened? Microscope were invented. Then Leeuwenhoek was the first scientist who observed what? Who observed living microorganism. Okay. Then next scientist was Robert Hooke. And what did he observe? He observed cork. Cork observation. And he named what? He named them as cells. Then we studied cells with the help of compound and electron microscope. I hope now it's clear. Now let's move to our first topic, cell theory. Okay, what happened was scientists wanted to find out whether all organisms are made up of cells or not. So three scientists, Sheldon, Swan and Virchow, they made such observations and they gave the cell theory. First scientist was Matthew Sheldon. In 1838 he observed plants, okay, and he said that all plants are made up of cells. In 1839 Theodore Swan, he observed animals, okay, and he said that all animals are made up of cells. But then he later on declared that all animals as well as plants are made up of cells, which serve as the unit of structure and function. Okay, then Rudolf Virchow came. In 1858, he added that new cells come from pre-existing cells. Means new cells are coming from already existing cells. Suppose this is the parent cell, okay, and it will form two daughter cells. So this daughter cells came from the parent cell, from the cell which was already existing, and this daughter cell will again divide and it will again form two new daughter cells. Okay, so now let's compile the cell theory. All living things are made up of cells. Okay, cell is the structural and functional unit of life. We have studied this point. New cells come from pre-existing cells, which was given by Rudolf Virchow. Now, what does this cell theory actually means? Let's compile again. Cell is the structural unit, means this whole plant is made up of cells. Animals and humans are made up of cells. Cell is the functional unit. Suppose this is our stomach, okay? So the stomach cells, they help in digestion. So the stomach cells are helping in digestion. This is the photosynthetic cells, okay? These cells are present in the leaf and they help in preparation of food in plants. So these functions are performed by cells. Then cells die and are replaced. Suppose this is your cell, this is the cells of your skin, okay? So these two cells, they become old and they die. Now over time what happens is these cells divide and they replace this old cell. So further new cells are formed. The next point is all life start as a single cell. We studied this topic in the previous lecture. In case of human, this single cell egg, from this the whole organism develops, okay? And this is the single cell in case of plants. Basically I'm talking about mango tree here. So in plants the single cell is in the form of a seed. So from here the whole plant organism develops, okay? So now let's move to the next topic. How numerous? Before I begin this topic, let me ask this question. Why ant is smaller and elephant is larger? Can you give the answer? Yes? It is because ant has less number of cells and elephant has more number of cells. That's why ant is smaller and elephant is bigger. So we get this conclusion that the larger the organism, the greater the number of cells in its body. Okay, I hope it is clear now. Now let's move further. We are going to classify cells on the basis of their number, okay? So first is single celled organism. So in single celled organism there is only one cell present. The whole organism is made of just one single cell. Examples are bacteria, amoeba and yeast, okay? We'll study about these things in higher classes in detail, okay? Now next is few celled organism. In few celled organism the number of cells vary from 100 to 1000. Examples are Spirogyra and Volvox. These are algae, okay? Then multicellular organisms. In this the number of cells vary from millions to billions, and examples are human beings and mango tree. We have already studied about them. Now next topic is cells how small. We are going to study which cells are smallest, which are the largest or longest. So first is smallest cells. So smallest cells, example of this is bacteria, 0.3 to 5 micrometer. Bacteria are the smallest cell. It looks like this. Now in case of human beings, red blood cells are smallest. Its diameter is about 7 micrometer, okay? This whole diameter is about 7 micrometer. Then longest cells are nerve cells, neuron. These are found in our body and these are generally responsible for signaling in our body, okay? Now largest cells are those of ostrich egg. You can see this is an ostrich bird and its egg is the largest cell. Next topic is why are cells small? Why we generally prefer smaller cells? To understand this, let's take an example of a sugar cube and a powdered sugar. So if I ask you this question that if I dissolve this sugar cube in water and I dissolve this powder sugar in another water, which will get dissolved? Of course, you will say the powder sugar will dissolve quickly. Why? The reason being because this powder sugar has more surface area exposed and this sugar cube has less surface area exposed. So it is a larger cube. Means less surface area exposed. Means less diffusion. So this powder sugar, these are small particles. More surface area exposed. It dissolves quickly. More diffusion and it dissolves quickly. Similarly, if I talk about these cells, okay, these cells are smaller. So smaller cells also have more surface area exposed. So they will be more efficient. They will be more efficient for exchange of gases and for taking in of food and taking out of food. Okay, so taking in of food and giving out food. So from the cell, easily oxygen can be drawn in and easily carbon dioxide can be released out, and food can be withdrawn in and it can be easily excreted out. Okay, so now let's take another example. If I ask this question that a classroom is having 10 students and another classroom is having 10,000 students, so in which communication will be more easier? You will say in classroom with 10 students the communication will be more easier as compared to 10,000 students. Reason being why? Because here the number of students are small. So similarly, small cells have more easy communication. While larger cells take longer time for communication. Okay, I hope it is clear now. Now let's take the example which is given in your book. This cube diagram is given in your book. Okay, so this is one large cube and the length and breadth are 2 mm. So its surface area will be 6 AB. AB are the length. So surface area will be 6 into 2 into 2. Length is 2 and breadth is also 2. So it will come out 24 mm square. Now we have divided this whole cube into 8 smaller cube. The same cube we have divided into 8 smaller cube. So here the surface area will be, okay, and the length and breadth of this smaller cube is 1 mm. So here the surface area will be 6 into, what is the length now? 1, and breadth is also 1. Because we have divided into 8 cubes, so we are multiplying it with 8. So it will come out to be 48 mm square. So you can see here that the surface area has become doubled when we have increased the number of cubes in the same volume. So we get this final conclusion that volume remains the same but surface area doubles. This means more area is available for materials to enter and leave. Okay, this happens in case of cells also. Cells have more surface area is to volume ratio. So they can easily and efficiently be used for exchange of materials. I hope it is clear now we are on our last topic, cell shapes and their functions. If I ask this question, is the shape of bicycle, car and aeroplane same? You will say no. Reason being that they have different function, that's why their shapes are different. Same happens with cells also. Cells are of different shapes because of their function. So we'll note this point that cells shapes differ because of their functions. Okay, now we are going to study the different shapes of different kinds of cells and what are their functions. So first is the epithelial cells. Their shape is flat, rectangular and tightly packed. These epithelial cells are generally found on the upper surface of the skin, and they also line the various organs of our body. So they are rectangular, we can see here they are rectangular and they are tightly packed. There is no space between the cells. Okay, and their function is protection. Their general function is protection. Okay, next are the human blood cells. First are the red blood cells. So red blood cells, they are circular and they are biconcave. Biconcave looks like this. Okay, this is biconcave shape. So they are circular and biconcave, and their function is to carry oxygen. They carry oxygen to various parts of the body, and they take carbon dioxide from there and deliver it to the lungs. Okay, now white blood cells. White blood cells are amoeboid. They are irregular in shape. Amoeboid means they are irregular in shape. They don't have any fixed shape. Okay, and their function is to fight germs. Next are the cartilage cells. Their shape is rounded and their function is to provide support and flexibility. These cartilage cells are found on the tip of the nose and on ears. Okay, so they provide flexibility and they also provide support. Next are the connective tissue cells. They are found generally between tissues and their shape is branched and irregular. They are branched and they are irregular. Okay, their function is join and support body parts. They support the various body parts. Next cells are the nerve cells. We studied that these are the longest cells in the human body. So nerve cells, neuron, they are long with branches and they carry messages. They carry messages in the form of nerve impulses. Muscle cells. Okay, in muscle cells we will study striated muscle cells and smooth muscle cells. So these striated muscle cells, they are long and cylindrical. Okay, and they help in body movement, and these are called striated muscle cells because there are alternate dark and light band. These are the dark bands and these are the light bands. Okay, then smooth muscle cell, they are called smooth muscle cells because they do not have any striations. Okay, and they are spindle shaped, means they are broader from the center and tapered from the ends. Their function is to squeeze and move substances. They squeeze out and they help in movement of substances. Now bone cells. Bone cells are branch shaped. Okay, they may be stellate also, star like shaped also, and their function is to they form bones and also maintenance of bones, and they also join and support the various body parts also. Next are the plant cells. Plant cells are rectangular or box like. See, this is a plant cell, this is the cell wall, and this is the plasma membrane. We will study about all these things detail in this chapter only. So because of this rigid cell wall, it has a fixed shape, and that fixed shape is rectangular, and it helps in support and protection. Okay, next are the guard cells. Their shape is bean shaped and kidney shaped. See, you can see it is looking like a kidney shape. So these are the guard cells, and these guard cells, they are bean shaped. Okay, and their function is to open and close stomata. These stomata are present in the upper and lower surfaces of the leaves, and they help in exchange of gases. Now, next are the chlamydomonas cells. They are oval with two flagella or tails. See, this is an oval shaped cell and it has two flagella. You can see two flagella or tails, and this help in movement and this help in swimming in water. Okay. Last is amoeba. Its shape is irregular and its function is movement and feeding. See, this is amoeba and its shape is irregular. It moves and wherever it finds food, it engulfs that food. Okay, so that's all for today. In the next lecture, we are going to do questions of this topic and we will revise these topics and we'll cover one new topic. Keep coming, keep revising, and keep learning. And before you leave, I want to remind you of one thing. If you don't feel like studying today, that's okay. Don't fight yourself. Pause for a moment and ask yourself why. Write your thoughts down, accept them, and let go of the guilt. You don't need to do a lot today. Just start with one small step, one page, one question, one concept. Small progress is still progress. Be kind to yourself, trust the process, and keep moving forward. See you in the next video. Till then, thank you so much.